What's good, everyone? For today's video, we've got UFC 311 predictions. Let's start off with the first fight on the card. We've got Tagir Bekov versus Clayton Carpenter. And to be honest, I don't even know who Clayton Carpenter is. So for that reason, I'm picking Tagir Bekov. Let's move on. Next, we've got a bantamweight fight between Ricky Tercios and Bernardo Sopage. I know who both these guys are, but they're not good. I don't really care about this fight. I'm just going to go with the favorite, Bernardo Sopage. Now, here, we've got quite a big fight, to be honest. We've got the prospects from Japan, Rinya Nakamura versus Moin Gafarov. These odds are quite generous for Gafarov, to be honest, because Rinya Nakamura is going to win, but he hasn't looked that impressive yet in the UFC, and hopefully he can get a finish in this fight. So, with this, I'm hoping he levels his game up, Rinya, because he's a prospect. People care about how he performs. People think he's going to be well. So I'm predicting him to get a round 2 KO. Now here, women's MMA, I'm just going with the favorite, Cara Rosa. Now this fight is very intriguing. If you're someone who bets, I'd put money on Diego Ferreira, because even though the odds show that Grant Dawson is a huge favorite, he's almost as big a favorite as Rinya Nakamura. But Diego Ferreira had fraud checked Mateusz Rebecki, who just beat Mitabek Orobai, and he's shown that he's very good. And while Grant Dawson is great as well, I'm actually going to pick Diego Ferreira just because of his last performance. So, if I'd bet money, I'd bet on Diego Ferreira to win this fight. Now let's move on. Cedricus Dumas, Zachary Reese. We've got 21 Savage versus this guy, and not much to be said. I'm picking Cedricus Dumas. Now we've got Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. This fight is Jailton Almeida, who's actually good, versus Sergey Spivak, he's okay, but he's a fat heavyweight. I'm predicting Jailton Almeida will probably sub him in round 2. I think Sergey Spivak survives the first round with the Jailton Almeida. I actually think Jailton Almeida is quite good. He is probably, without including champions, the second best. He's probably the second best contender. Even though he lost to Curtis Blades, if they rematched, I'd pick him because he kind of got fluke KO'd, dominated Curtis Blades in the first round. And the only person I think beats him is Volkov, because Volkov has just beaten everyone so far, including Gane, which he was robbed. But let's move on. I've got Peyton Talbot, who was in my prospects video, versus Raoni Barcelos. And as you can see, he's a huge favorite for good reasons. Peyton Talbot, I think, is the second best prospect in the whole UFC, behind Gene Silva. And in this fight, he's going to show. His last fight, he won against Giannis Gomori with an 18-second KO over him. And here, I think Raoni Barcelos is much better than Giannis Gomori, but I'm predicting him to get a KO still in the first round. So let's move on to the last fight on the prelims. Johnny Walker actually pulled out of this fight, thankfully for him, because Bogdan would kill him. But now Bogdan's fighting someone else. I don't know what his name is, but I'm picking Bogdan Gushkov by round 1 KO, I think. Let's move on to the main card. First fight, Kevin Holland, Reinier de Ridder. Now, Reinier de Ridder is getting a lot of hype. To be honest, I don't know what that hype is for. He had a very close fight, was losing against GM3, and GM3 is just mid until he subbed him, and now he's fighting Kevin Holland. See, the thing with Kevin Holland is he's actually very good, very capable, very talented as a fighter. But the thing is, a lot of the times he just goes out there and doesn't care and doesn't try. So, the thing is, if Kevin Holland doesn't try in this fight, Rainier's going to take him down and sub him, because this is a favorable matchup for Rainier, for both actually, but the thing is, Kevin Holland is just way too good on the feet. Only problem is his wrestling. Like, Rainier could take him down and sub him, which I think a lot of people are going to pick that to happen. But I'm picking Kevin Holland to get a round 2 KO or TKO. I think the onslaught of Kevin Holland on the feet is just going to be too much for Reinier de Ridder, and he's going to beat him and fraud check him. Let's move on to a fight I'm actually very hyped about. Renato Money Moicano, motherfucker, versus Beneil Dariush. And now, Renato Moicano has been a big underdog through his career. You know, that fight against Jalen Turner, great comeback, got knocked down. Jalen Turner, the fucking retard, walked away, and then he came back and finished him in round 2. And then he was a big underdog against BSD. People thinking that Poirier fight was a fluke. Goes out there, 10-8 BSD in the first round, and TKOs him in the second. Now he's versing Beneil Dariush, who's also, he used to be good. Now he's kind of lost his chin. I believe he's on a 2-fight loss streak, losing to Oliveira and Arman, or maybe 3 losses to Gamrot as well. I'm not sure. Actually, he beat Gamrot, but I'm picking, enough yapping, I'm picking Renato Moicano by round 3 TKO. I think he's just, even though Beneil Dariush is kind of a jiu-jitsu guy, I think Renato Moicano's ground game is just too good for him. On the feet, I see this being close, because Beneil Dariush is okay on the feet. Renato Moicano is alright, I guess, but his ground game is just going to be too good, and it's going to show. Now we've got Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. Now, unlike most people, I don't actually think this fight's going to be close. I think Jamal Hill's a fraud. You know, he hasn't beaten anyone good apart from a 42-year-old Glover Teixeira. He kind of got fraud checked against Alex Pereira. And Yuri, people underestimate Yuri. Yuri, I think, is actually very good. It's just Alex Pereira is a terrible stylistic matchup for him, because Alex Pereira is a power puncher, and Yuri's defense is absolutely atrocious. Now, this fight, I think, is going to be a war. Maybe fight of the night, to be honest. And it's still close, though. Jamal Hill isn't bad, but I think Yuri is too good for him, and I'm predicting Yuri to either KO him in the first round or in the second. But I can guarantee this fight will be an absolute war. And with the odds, I think a good bet for Yuri is, there's a good bet to place on Yuri to win by knockout. Let's move on to the co-main and main. For the co-main event, two guys who are very good. Merab, who has just dominated everyone he fought. He dominated Piotr Jan, dominated Aldo, dominated Cejudo, and dominated Sean O'Malley, versus Umar, who just 50-45 Corey Sandhagen. As you can see in these odds, Umar's a huge favorite, which I kind of understand, to be honest, but still, I'm picking Umar to beat Merab. I think everything apart from cardio. See, this is the thing. Merab could just do what he does in every fight to Umar and just out-cardio him and just beat him. But I think Umar's ground game and wrestling is way too good. Well, not way too good, but it's better than Merab's, and his striking is just way too good. And because of that, I think on the feet, there's not going to be really threat of the takedown, because the threat of the takedown is going to be for both fighters, because neither of them, especially Merab, does not want to get taken down by Umar. I mean, especially Umar doesn't want to get taken down by Merab. So the threat of the takedown is going to be there. I think it's going to be quite pedestrian on the feet, but Umar's just going to pick him up at pick him. Oh, fucking stutters. Is just going to pick him apart at range and just beat him on the feet. And then on the ground, while Merab is just going to be shooting a ton of takedowns, I don't think he lands many. I think Umar stuffs most of them. And on the ground, I think Umar's a better wrestler than Merab. This is very close. Merab, you could say Merab's a better wrestler, but I just think Umar's too good for him. And I'm predicting Umar to win by either 49-46 or 48-47 decision. Now let's move on to the main event. We've got Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Now these odds are insane to me. For Arman to be plus 300 is ridiculous. This fight should be close. I'm picking Islam to win, of course, but Arman's gonna give him a hard fight. Maybe as hard as Poirier's fight. And Arman, he's only lost to Islam, which was a close fight again. That's why I see people picking Arman, because that was in Arman's debut. He gave Islam one of his hardest fights. I think his hardest fight, apart from the first Volk fight for Islam, which I scored to Volk. But anyways, I think he gave him a very hard fight, and Arman's wrestling is just really good. So I don't think Islam is going to be as successful as he is against other people on the ground with Arman, which makes it closer. And Arman on the feet, Arman's actually quite underrated. He KO'd Beneil Dariush, which isn't that impressive, but he kind of outstruck Charles Oliveira. Well, it was very even on the feet, and Charles Oliveira is a great striker. And in that fight with Charles Oliveira, we could see how good his wrestling is because he didn't get subbed, and he didn't lose positions. He was kind of dominant on the ground against Oliveira, apart from when Oliveira chucked up submissions. So this fight, I definitely think is going decision. But the thing that really takes it away from me is, while, like I explained, the ground game between Arman and Islam is very close. I think Islam's got better ground game. I don't think Islam is going to be able to sub him. I think Arman's submission defense will be too good. I think the only person who can sub Arman is Charles Oliveira, because he got close with that guillotine and when he locked in that dash choke. But Islam doesn't. Islam's jiu-jitsu is great, right? But it's not as good as Charles Oliveira's. So, but the thing that really takes it away from me is Islam on the feet. Islam is a top 5 striker in the whole UFC, in my opinion. And Arman is just good at striking. So I think Islam on the feet is just going to be too much for Arman. And I don't see him getting a KO over Arman. I think Arman's too good of a striker to get KO'd. But I'm picking Islam to win. The fight will be close, but I'm picking him to win by 49-46. I think he may lose the first round to Arman and then just pick up and just win every round. And I think the fight's going to be close because I think it's going to be hard for Islam to really dominantly win rounds against Arman. I think he'll win all these rounds, but they won't be dominant because the wrestling, the ground game, which is Islam's main thing, is kind of going to be cancelled out, and he won't want to be taken down by Arman either. So I think, like the co-main, it's going to be a bit pedestrian, and it's just going to be Islam picking Arman apart, picking him apart at range and outstriking him. And with that, that's my predictions for UFC 311. Peace.